Hey everybody, it's Mr. Fudge, your balloon man, and I'm here with Charles Dolbel, and you're in New Zealand, correct?
Yep, that's right. Auckland, New Zealand.
Awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself, say hello to everybody, and let us know a little about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charles Dolbel. I've been around for a long time, since before Facebook, and I think not long after Balloon HQ actually started, but half of you were probably not even born then. Been twisting for 22 years. So I started 6 years before my 16-year-old was born. So I get to easily count how long everything happens.
Nice.
Um, Yeah, I've been doing it a long time. I absolutely love it. I did computer and mathematical science at university. I really enjoy numbers and entertaining and interactions and people, and found that the IT industry in the 90s wasn't actually all that interactive and all that interesting. It's much better now from what I can tell.
That's cool. And
Um,
what did you specialize in as far as entertainment? What is it that you...
well, I started out as a circus artist doing fire performing and unicycling and juggling and all that sort of stuff. And I did a lot of fire gigs. In fact, I busked for about 6 months straight to pay for my portion of my wedding. 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 days a week. I'd come home from work, I'd strap 40 litres of fuel on my back and a couple of fire staffs, and I'd unicycle down, because I lived in the middle of town, unicycle down to a big square called Aotea Square, which is the main hub of central Auckland, and would bust a couple of hours. But I hadn't voiced it so much, so it's interesting now it's happened with the eco side of things. I had a little niggle in the back of my head even then
Hmm.
that I'm burning petrochemicals to make people clap.
How are you burning
And with that,
petrochemicals?
I was doing fire performing.
Oh,
I
yeah,
had
yeah,
fire
okay.
at the ends, and not in petrol, by the way, guys. You will burn yourself really badly
Yeah, I
in a
actually have done fire breathing and set my head on fire.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
recommend anyone do fire breathing, even if you're experienced. In fact, if anyone's listening and they do fire, as soon as my wife accepted my wedding proposal, I quit fire breathing. Was just straight like that. Wasn't even a conscious decision. I just, oh, I'm not going to fire breathe again. Um, so yeah, I've done it a little bit. It is really dangerous. The risks. It's like driving a car without a seatbelt. Chances are not much will happen. When it does happen, the damage is huge. But I'm a bit of a safety Nazi. I've known about that in the circus and the fire areas around Auckland.
So I don't know if you
Uh,
know about this. When I opened an entertainment company, when I started, my first entertainers were a bunch of fire performers. So
yep,
I learned a lot. And so
that
I,
reminds me.
yeah, I truly did set my head on fire. I was a human matchstick for a little bit, and it was because I didn't follow instructions. I knew everything that I was supposed to do. I just didn't do it. And you're right, one little mistake makes a big difference. Lost some eyebrows, got a little scar, and I stopped breathing
Yep,
fire.
yep. No, it's amazing fun. Everybody claps. It doesn't feel dangerous because not much things don't happen regularly enough. But
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
I,
I do know of 3 people in the last 20 years who've had collapsed lungs, one of whom had been fire breathing for 30 years. So
and can it like
it's,
ruin your teeth and the enamel on your teeth as well? Is that a thing?
there's a whole bunch of slow health effects
Yeah.
from having petrochemical residue in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I
All
mean,
right, guys.
I
So
won't
stay
say
away from
that. It's up
fire.
to people.
That's good.
What annoyed me though was that I was shown how to fire breathe with none of this information, and it was only several years later that I came across it. And
It's
I
unfortunate.
don't like to tell people what to do, but I do like to give them the information so they can make their own choices.
That's great. It's awesome.
And yeah, that's a
That's
little
very
thing
cool.
I can run
So
hours.
but you said you unicycle too, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
absolutely.
let me ask you,
Um,
where did you, or how long did it take you to learn to unicycle, and how did you
it
learn?
took me it took me 6 months. I was living in an apartment building in the middle of Auckland at the bottom of a very, very steep hill,
Uh-huh.
like probably 40 degrees. I had a car accident and I had a stuffed back. And my friend from university turned up and said, here, have my unicycle, Charles. I'm going around the world for a few years.
Wow.
And so it took me a few months to get my back better. And then I spent 4 or 5 months trying to teach myself, which failed miserably. Then I met one of the best unicyclists in New Zealand, a guy called Peter Beer, fantastic juggling as well. He unlearned all my bad habits in about a month and got me riding.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Don't hang off the wall and try to ride a unicycle, because all you're teaching yourself to do is to sit on a seat and hold onto a wall.
I actually taught myself to ride a unicycle as well. I did it
How
on
long?
flat, level ground, so I had maybe a heads up a little bit. I also did not use a wall, but I can tell you that I destroyed my shins, and I did
Did you? Oh, yeah.
So I did a pedal mount, so I kind of put my back heel on the axle and my toe on the pedal, and I jumped up and then slipped it over. Yeah, it's a mount that's not how you're supposed to do it, but that's how I did it.
I was very lucky because I had a lot of circus friends at the time, and really to joke. I'm just making this real to everyone while I do some chores.
Yeah, I told you this is going to be super informal. We're just chatting, kind of seeing what's going on. I'm really using this time to see into the life of other entertainers and in your case, other side of the world, kind of see what's going on and how things are going. So.
Yeah, no, it's good. It makes us a little less focused on everything else that's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very lucky in that they showed me how to mount as a learner and how to catch the seat. So you don't absolutely destroy the front or back of the seat when you're learning to ride.
Which definitely happens.
Absolutely happens. Yeah, no, I unicycled to work for 10 or 15 years. I can't remember the exact number. Got a little bit of, always had a couple of business cards in my pocket. So people jeer and make jokes, and then some people go, woo, and the people who are really happy, I just grab a card, stick it in their hand as I went past, and just keep on going.
Oh, that's awesome. So is that how you started with your advertisement at the time, or were you doing other things too?
I've never really advertised ever.
Okay.
A lot of my work has been in sales teams and call centers and business to business, keep setting out key account help desks, and sort of when people started offering to pay me to do circus stuff, I was like, well, okay, let me go and have a look at the corporate market, and like, oh, there's no one here. Like there were magicians, but there didn't seem to be anyone who was actually focused on the corporates. Okay. And at the risk of getting some people offside, which might happen if this video is released, the average corporate person who would book entertainment assumed that circus artists were smelly hippies.
I could see how they could do that.
And that is mostly some smelly hippies had been booked and turned up and smelled. Yep. So straight away I put on my business card. I spent a long time working on my business card, but I put Charles Dolbel, corporate entertainer, on the card. That's great. Straight away. It's like, here I am, made everything I could to tell them I'm not a clown. I'm not the type of person that turns up unclean. So black shiny shoes, waistcoat, bowler hat, dry cleaned clothing, everything looks good. Usually I want to be the best looking person outfit wise in the group, still flashy. So I basically chose a waistcoat that's completely gold on the front. So the whole thing is just psh.
Nice. So you're washed in gold up on the front.
On my waistcoat, every bit that you see from the front is gold, including the buttons.
Nice.
So it's like, wow, but it's still black shoes, black pants, bowler hat.
So very
nice
traditional
shirt.
Look with a little bit of flash and flare.
With a little bit of, whoa, what's that? And then later on, I figured out that a red shirt goes really well with that. Mm-hmm. And Then when people say, oh, can you dress up like Santa Claus or can you dress up like an elf, which I just don't want to do. I want to be myself.
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, my outfit is Christmas colors. It's black, gold, and red.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome.
At Christmas, at Christmas time, it looks Christmassy.
Yeah,
In the middle of June, during a sales conference, it looks corporate and flashy.
that's great.
And yeah,
So
and I feel a little bit like you've seen Pee Wee Herman where he's got like 15 sets of all his clothes up in the rack. That's kind of was my
that's
it was
great.
my wardrobe style.
Now, no, let me ask, because I actually, my everyday wear is like that. I have exactly the same shirt. I'm always wearing a black shirt, always wearing jeans. Or right now I have these, I can't see them and I can't jump high enough to show them, but I basically have these like kung fu pants. They're like super comfortable. And I've got like 20
I,
pair of each.
I call them juggler pants.
What's that?
I call them juggler pants.
Yes, they are exactly juggler pants. That's exactly what it is. But it's super comfort. It's a Walmart outfit, something you would wear when you don't care to impress people. And
Yeah.
that's my everyday stuff. So do you have for your business a set costuming all the time? Do you have multiple things? How many shirts, how many vests?
Oh, so I get a new vest every couple of years. I've got about 4 vests. I've got multiple shirts. I've changed between black shirts, white shirts, and red shirts, but I try to go for the red most of the time. A couple of really good agents I've worked with for a long time book me regularly, and so I've got their logo
Okay,
on one of my waistcoats for each of them.
that's awesome. And now,
So I've got not a gold waistcoat in that case, because that gold waistcoat is me. To me, that's what everyone remembers. I'd like to say they remember me, but they remember the gold waistcoat. So I have a black waistcoat with the agent's logo on there, and I hand out their cards.
that's awesome.
And it's just nice. Because otherwise they give you T-shirts or they give you something else or they give you some other clothing, and because they're booking you, you can't say no as well. But I don't ever want to be performing in a T-shirt.
That's awesome.
Although I am wearing a T-shirt I got from a big parade gig for Weta Digital last year for the Pride Parade.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
nice.
if you know,
What a digital. Okay.
Weta is probably the best effects company in the world,
Oh, that's really cool.
and certainly the largest one. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson
Yeah,
came,
is that New
Weta
Zealand stuff,
Digital.
huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
I mean,
almost every
they're
movie you watch
everywhere.
now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
So let me ask you, what are your thoughts on working with agents, and what would you say to someone that was either considering working with them or not? Because there's a lot of people that say work with them, and a lot of people that say run from them. What are your thoughts?
Work with them and run from them. Choose your agent, right?
Yeah,
Should you get married? It depends on the person.
yeah,
It's not a static question that's just in its own. It's like, oh, I want to get married. No, I don't. It's actually, this is the person I want to marry.
okay, yeah.
And you do your research a lot more with agents than you do with a marriage partner.
Okay, now what would you say
So,
you're looking for in an agent if you decide to go
well,
with
for
one?
me, I basically educated the handful of agents that use me or that I use them.
Hmm.
It's the same thing, basically. So they start off coming in, trying to give me work, trying to talk me down most of the time on price. And I'm saying, well, here's my rates. That's it. Here's a schedule. This is what you will pay for what you want to do. However, we need a mutually beneficial relationship. And I'll go in and meet them, actually sit down, have a coffee with them and say, like, so what I want from you to benefit me is you will give me a regular amount of gigs throughout the year, probably less than your other people because I expect that my prices are a bit higher. Maybe they're not, right?
Yeah.
But you will ask the client the right questions. Here's a list of the questions I recommend you ask for fire gigs, for balloon twisting gigs, for decor gigs, etc., right? So you won't get anything wrong. You will let me talk to your client if necessary so that there's no bumps in the road. You basically take the hour and a half that it usually takes me to interact with a client with emails and phone calls and stuff and before and after booking, you will make that 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Then, so you save me a whole bunch of paperwork, and I'm happy that I know you've got the right information. You've asked where the car park is, you know the actual Google address of the site, and all that stuff. But that's me demanding stuff of you. What I'm going to give you is an incredibly professional person who's going to turn up an hour early, who's not going to book anything 2 hours before or 2 hours after the start and end times of your client. I will go the extra mile every time I can. However, I will also have health and safety as my number one requirement. If at any stage there is some perceived risk to people or property, I will stop the performance or alter it to remove that risk.
So,
So as an agent, you probably want to send me into your big corporate companies where health and safety is their biggest concern. Yeah. You may not want to send me to a backyard birthday party where there's 4 drunk uncles standing around a giant barbecue, because I may actually say, you know what, I might not be performing today. And those are extreme examples, but that's it. And I do work really hard on getting feedback, taking photographs when I'm working, which I don't do as well as I should, but I still do, sending them to the agent, when I pull into the car park 40 minutes before the gig starts, I take a photo of the building and I send it to the agent and say, I'm here.
It's awesome. I love the photo of a building. That's great.
It's simple. It's like that, because I'm early, sometimes the clients aren't actually there when I turn up. Mm-hmm. And if they're 10 minutes late, occasionally they may say to the agent, oh, he wasn't there until 10 past 8. It hasn't happened much, maybe 3 times in 20 years.
You know,
but
I tell
then go to the agent and say, I'm not going to argue with your client because that will put them offside. However, I was there 40 minutes earlier, but I couldn't get in because they weren't there. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I need to be making sure I'm providing benefits to the agent, not just doing a good job and entertaining, but they trust me. When they send me out, they relax. When they send most of their entertainers out, they're a bit on edge.
I run an entertainment agency, and I've got a couple of guys that work with me that are just like what you're describing. I've got one guy in particular. He is the bomb at getting video testimonials. Like that is like his thing. He is really good at showing up, doing a great job. He went to one event and he called me up after and he said, I just want to let you know everything went wrong. We had a horrible time. The decor that I was supposed to set up broke. Like he said, everything happened bad that could happen bad, but I got a positive testimonial from the client saying they loved it. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but that's awesome. You know, like he had the client convinced that they didn't want a round arch, they wanted a square arch. He's like, we got it taken care of. They're happy. Don't worry about it. And there's some entertainers, like you said, that just have the experience and the know-how and the professionalism to turn that around and make it happen. So that's really cool to hear that you do find that important. And as an agent myself, I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying, and it's right there, you know.
A lot of people just want the agent to give them tons of gigs and pay them 3 times as much. And I'm like, well, it's not going to work for very long. But,
so you haven't found that happen for you?
No.
Okay.
No. Although what I have found is a couple of agents who are almost colleagues rather than agents, but they get a big job. Like I like doing big stuff, not maybe American big, you know, but for New Zealand, I like doing big installs or just going really big, hairy, audacious goals. I like grabbing those and running for it. And I do have a number of people, including agents, that go, look, I know this guy, Charles. I think he's the only person in New Zealand that you should talk to. Chances are I'm not. There are probably another dozen people who are even better than me at that.
Yeah.
But my agent's perception of me is this is the only guy to talk to this guy about.
That's awesome.
And so, for Weta, for example, we we made a whole Pip Milford Hughes and I,
Yeah.
or Pippity Pop. I got her in because she's so focused. She made the Weta faces. We made Weta backpacks that were Wetas hanging onto the back of Weta employees.
Oh, that's
So the
great.
backpack would come up to here, and she designed the heads because I know she just makes the most gorgeous, and Wetas are ugly. It's like I would make it ultra realistic and look just like a Weta, and there would still be kids having nightmares in Wellington. Whereas Pip will make it look gorgeous and cute and accurate, and yeah. So
Yeah.
we did a whole bunch of backpacks and a giant Weta on a van that they drove through the parade. And Weta originally called and asked me for those spray backpacks.
Okay. Yeah. We do
You know,
those a
the
lot.
250 ones. And I was just like, you know what? Let's do it a bit more specific to you, and let's go a bit crazy. And by the way, here's a 66-meter spiral garland that I made for Auckland University of Technology 2 years ago. Here's some pictures of it
That's awesome.
that they carried through the. So yeah, I love parades. I don't know if that's going to be big on my radar in the next couple of years, but we'll see.
So tell me, how did you get into the parades? Like, how did that get started? And how many have you done? And what do you tell me about it?
I probably 100 parades, unicycling.
Okay.
So I did a lot of parades, Central Auckland parades. There's one group that run most of the big ones in Central Auckland, like the St. Paddy's Parade, the Santa Parade, the parades when New Zealand wins the America's Cup, which is a yachting thing. There's a big parade through the middle of town. They run all of those, and I've been involved with most of those for about 10 years. So I started off unicycling in it, and then again, the same sort of agent thing. I guess I'm just always thinking about relationships and benefits and keeping me out of mind. Is like, well, you know what? I'm on a unicycle. I go at 1.5 to 2 times the walking speed of most people.
Yeah.
I'm in character, but I can also marshal for you really well. So if the float in front of me is going really slow, I can ride right through the middle of the whole band really safely and say to the guy at the front, speed it up. You need to walk faster. Off you go. Wave at the crowd. Turn around. Go back. Go backwards and forwards. Do a little bit of marshalling, but completely in character.
So you were able to basically upsell your character.
I upsell the benefits. The character and
Okay.
the audience, no one notices, but I keep my part of the parade flowing better,
Okay.
which does potentially translate that they may not to need 45 marshals that year. They might need 44, and it saves them money too.
Okay. So who pays for the marshals? Is the marshals the parade
The
organizer in
mar-
general?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So is
So
that who's normally hiring you, or is it an individual corporation?
no, it would be at the beginning. It would be the parade themselves. It would be the parade organizer who would book me. They'd book like a dozen different entertainers, stilt walkers, and professionals and stuff like that. And then I realised these huge Central Auckland parades, they take my whole day. I turn up there at 7 in the morning. The parade starts at 12. All the streets are blocked off. All the public transport disappears. I can't get my car out. I can't get the bus in and out. And I leave there at 5 in the afternoon. And that's when you just mentioned it. I think, okay, let me go and talk to one of the parade floats. Let me go and talk to Westpac Bank.
Yeah.
Let me go to Tower Insurance. Let's see what we can do with them. And then I can turn up partway through or do a great big build for them or be involved, and it takes a lot less day. And basically I've moved away from most of those big events. Personally, now I'm in the smaller community centre parades and stuff like that. Like Onehunga is a small township near me, and I love it. It's like 2 hours there. I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. Everyone knows me. I'm smiling all the time. It's great. But if Tower Insurance want me, like they did this year, I did another huge garland, but we did this one with quick links.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a spiky bit. Then I'm in there, but instead of paying me the very small amount that the parade organisers expect to pay most of the entertainers, they're paying me several $1,000s to do a big decor build, and it's much more worth it.
That's awesome. Now,
So I've
we're,
got, and
No, I was gonna say we're it sounds like we're hitting some decor stuff, but you mentioned to me your joy point system for measuring entertainment value, and it kind of piqued my
Uh,
interest. So I know I'm interrupted, but I want to hear about this. What is this joy point
I'm
system?
proud of it. I'm proud of it. So I'm a numbers guy. I love statistics. I don't trust much.
Yeah,
I'm far more interested in how statistics are gathered rather than what they say to begin with, because how they're gathered influences everything there.
yeah.
Um, there's a number of spelling mistakes and stuff, but it's on Balloon HQ. So I've done a number of columns on Balloon HQ.
So you have this joy point
Uh,
system on Balloon HQ?
yep,
Awesome. So
absolutely. In
what I'll
fact,
do
I
is
will,
when we get done, I'll have you shoot me that link and I'll add it in the description in the video below because I think
no,
that would be
no
really cool.
problem.
But please tell me, give me the synopsis of joy points and
Right.
how you came up with this.
So this is mostly with circle shows for circus artists. So, you get a big crowd around you. It doesn't have to be balloons, and you do a big busking show. And so many people I've heard have said, well, you just try it. It's hit or miss. It doesn't work. It does work. You build it. And there are lots of entertainers who don't have this attitude and are fantastic. But they say you can't measure how happy people are.
Okay.
And I went away and I thought about this. I go, God damn it, of course you can. you know, you can measure anything that is a predictable outcome.
Yep.
There's no point measuring dice rolls. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the world in any way, recording how many sixes you got when you roll 100 dice or whatever. But if there's a repeatable, predictable reaction, you can measure it as long as it's predictable and repeatable. So I tried it. I do a lot of busking as well. So I'd go out onto the street, set it all up, challenge people to think of things they think I can't make. So before we even start the tipping discussion, it's like, hey, I want you to actually spend some time thinking of something hard for me because I'm good, right? And
Okay.
straight away you're up there. They're not thinking, oh, here's 50 cents, go and get a dog.
Yeah.
Or some do, but a smaller percentage. So I tried this with busking and then I translated it into my entertaining and stuff like that. So I identified, don't want it too complicated. If you have a complicated system, you can't use it. So 4 things to notice and record. A smile, right? Simple reaction from the crowd. If you do something, do you get a smile? We all know. No one needs to be told what a smile is. Amazed. Now this is a little more general, but we all know when someone's smiling is that's kind of cool. Someone's like, they just stop moving and their mouth drops open. Or for younger kids especially, they grab their parents' shirt or something and they're tugging on it and go, Daddy, 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 look, 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 Daddy. That's excitement as opposed to, oh, I'm enjoying myself, which is a smile. Then real excitement. Clapping hands, shouting, yelling, dancing, jumping, wiggling, screaming, and then crowd applause. And those last 2 typically follow each other. In fact, people who weren't even watching are clapping at the end when other people are clapping. They don't know what they're clapping about. So these 4 things, and with do this on a couple of gigs, it's actually really easy to start remembering them.
Yeah.
Because you're normally focusing on 1 or 2 things you're doing. You're not doing it for 3 hours non-stop. So I set this down. I fiddled with the numbers for a bit, but for me, a smile is 5 joy points.
Okay.
Amazed is 5 joy points. Excitement is 10 joy points. And crowd applause is 15.
Okay.
We could make crowd applause bigger, but I'm mostly interested in the individual in front of me because I can't actually assess the whole crowd at once.
Okay.
So my measuring stick gets too complicated and too unwieldy and the results don't get useful. So one of the examples I've used is, let's grab a 1-twist sword. You're making a 1-twist sword, hopefully in a very entertaining way, for a preschooler. They will smile and look amazed. You make it, you hand it to them. The simplest transaction in the entire balloon world. They look smiled and amazed. 10 joy points for a 1 balloon sword.
Mm-hmm.
1 twist sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, for older ages moving away from preschool, you can often get nothing. They've been in line for 10 minutes. They ask for a sword. You make a one twist sword. You give it to them. They take it. They wander off.
That's true.
Get zero. Not all of them. Some of them
Yeah.
get excited, and I love those guys. So straight away, you've got a little difference here. People say, I never make one balloon swords. It's like, well, actually, if there's 100 preschoolers in front of me, I'm going to make a few one twist swords, but I'm going to make sure they're happy and smiling and enjoying themselves. So for preschoolers, they get 10 joy points for a one twist sword. It takes about 10 seconds. I probably do it a bit quicker now, but I don't pride myself on making things fast.
Yeah.
So 10 seconds, 10 points. And this is where the confusion comes in a little bit. This is now a joy points score of 60 joy points per minute. We have to throw in the time here.
So it's a rate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Beats per minute, heartbeats per minute, joy points per
So
minute.
like a comedian does laughs per minute or laughs per hour or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we've got 60 joy points per minute for a one twist sword for most preschoolers. We have 0 joy points for older ages per minute. But then we change it up. When it's not a preschooler, we can make a spiral bladed 2-balloon sword. Again, I wrote this a very long time ago,
Yeah.
so it's just an example. Throw it in the air for the older group to catch, because straight away from recording the fact that you get zeros, you know you need to actually put a little bit more entertainment into this older age group, because you can get zeros if you're not careful.
That's true.
So make a 2-balloon spiraled sword, make it look cool, make it shiny, throw it up into the air for them to catch, get them to catch it. Suddenly they've interacted with you, they've interacted with the world, they've moved their arms apart, they've spread everything, the blood's flowing better, all that stuff. Then you usually get amazed, smiling, in about 15 seconds, 40 seconds, 30 seconds. Let's say 40 is what I wrote there. It's no way going to be that long this time, unless it blows away in the wind or something. So that's 15 joy points per minute for an older age kid for a 2-balloon spiral bladed sword.
Okay.
Suddenly, it's slightly better to make this more expensive, this more time expensive sword and put it in there. But there's no point making this for the preschoolers unless they see it and want it, because the difference between 10 and 5 isn't a lot, but 15 per minute versus 60 per minute. The preschooler with the one is 60 joy points per minute. You want that kid happy. Forget what you think of yourself as an artist, right? You're not going to double, triple stuff and do a reverse raise and twist to make a sword for a 3-year-old. You know, you're failing as an entertainer in this scenario that I'm giving.
That's awesome.
The other scenario works.
Well,
So let's look at, and let's take it to an extreme, because I like to break systems that I make.
yeah.
Push them hard. So let's say it takes 20 minutes to make a giant working Ferris wheel for someone.
Mm-hmm.
They become amazed and excited. They're left smiling. The crowd applauds you afterwards. 35 joy points, maximum score, divided by 20 minutes. Rate of 1 joy point per minute. From this basis, in a line work scenario, a giant carousel or a giant Ferris wheel is 1/60th as useful and as important and creating joy as a 1-balloon sword for a 3-year-old.
When you're dealing with that proper age range.
In that age range, in this environment. So there is
Yeah.
always, I have made
Yeah,
wheels.
there's
There is time.
plenty of
There's
variables, I'm
absolutely,
sure, but that's cool. I approached entertainment a little bit differently. This is not about me, but um,
this is one facet as well. This is
yeah,
just a way of that other people, this is line work,
yeah, no, I
and
love
it's
it.
not
And
what I do.
yeah, no, when I do line work, I used to tell people, I said, I make it about the individual. I entertain the crowd, but I make it about the individual. Every person that gets
Yeah.
to me, I want, even if it's when they're in the back of the line, I make them feel special. I want them to feel special somewhere in my line, and it's that interaction. And as you're telling me this, I'm putting all of my previous experiences through this filter now to see kind of how it relates and what I remember. And I'm just thinking if I had the same system back then when I was doing all this, I would perceive it differently. I would be much easier to kind of see what's going on. And I know the numbers are kind of arbitrary other than they relate to each other. But
Consistent numbers aren't.
yeah, but
If
the
numbers are
arbitrary 5, 5, 10, 15.
yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
could just as easily say 1, 2, 3.
You can, but we have an instinctive understanding of joy or happiness, right?
Yeah.
And we know that a smile is nowhere near as happy as an excited person. A
No,
smiling
yeah, yeah,
person,
no, there's definitely different values. Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
ratios. What the ratios are is arbitrary,
Yeah.
but we know when those ratios are wrong or whether they're within the right ballpark.
Yeah, so but I love it because what you perceive and I perceive as a smile, excitement, and applause, some of it's very, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
our perception and how much we notice, because I don't know about you, but I get stuck twisting that dog and forgetting what's going on sometimes if I'm not paying attention. So
absolutely.
what we,
And this is
yeah,
this is actually a way to focus people on the recipient and the crowd and what's going on, and to refocus you on that.
I love it.
Um, and what it really did for me, especially with my busking, is I tried tweaking things. So to add a black nose and a pink tongue to a dog, as opposed to drawing on the nose and drawing on a cute little mouth or something, and do those two things and think about it. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this and see if there's any noticeable difference. And I actually found that putting in the black nose and the pink tongue doubled the joy points for half of the time.
Now, you say you did this when you were busking. How did
Yeah.
this equate to revenue?
So revenue is interesting, made it go up.
Well, I would assume, but I was wondering if,
Li- But this is not done in a vacuum. So
yeah,
I've been busking for 25 years. I've been busking with balloons for 22 years.
yeah,
First couple of years, 20 cents, 50 cents sculpture. And I average between $5 and $20 now
okay,
per sculpture. So I make my hourly rate. I make 50, 80, $150 an hour when it's busy, when I'm busking. It's slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger over time, doing lots of things like joy points, but I've never just done one thing and been able to measure the effect of that with a very small number of things. So one of the biggest things is a small kid, and I mostly busk for adults. So I go out late at night and I want the crowd of adults around me. But there's kids everywhere.
yeah,
It's 11:30 at night and there's a family with preschoolers out. But there's a little kid there. She's got an angelic face. She's got this huge smile. She's got these huge big eyes. Her dad's behind her on his phone. He doesn't know if she's crying, if she's smiling, if she's having a heart attack. He sees the back of her head. She's angelically smiling, which means virtually no movement. He's getting no visual cues from her whatsoever.
so she could look terrified for him.
Well, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. He's not even thinking about her.
yeah,
And so about 10 years ago, I made this decision I saw that and I thought, well, let's try and deal with this. I'm like, just turn around and show that smile to your adult. And I always love to call kids, I always like to call the person with them their adult. It removes the risk of calling the uncle, the dad, or the thing like this and blah, blah, blah. But it empowers the child. The child's like, oh, this is my adult. I like that. I like this being my adult. Because they hear the other thing all the time. They hear, your kid. Is this your kid?
yeah.
And to me, there's no malice in there whatsoever, but it's actually a slightly depressive comment to say in front of the kid.
Hmm.
Oh, this is your owner.
And the adult hears it so little that it, even if it were negative, I don't think it affects the psyche that much. So I think it's great.
No, and I focus on these things, and occasionally they're not actually as important as I think they are, but that's okay.
So
But turn around, show that smile to your dad.
yeah,
When I started doing that, busking, my hat doubled.
That's phenomenal tip.
It absolutely doubled.
Hmm,
And when I say it doubled, that scenario did not come up all the time.
that's true.
So, so when I did use it, the fact that it was doubling my hat actually meant this was tripling, quadrupling, quintupling
Those tips.
the actual tips from that situation and affecting the whole take at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
However, show that smile to your adult also means everyone else in the crowd has a good chance of looking at that little girl turning around with this big beaming face.
Yeah.
So that also influence, again, it's not in a vacuum,
Yeah, and
but this is the
that's
closest
great.
one to being a vacuum. I started it, it doubled my hat.
That's awesome. That's a
Oh,
phenomenal tip there. And yeah, I will tell you that when I was working restaurants, I worked a lot of restaurants. I measured the color of my shirt, whether I was wearing shiny shoes, whether I combed my hair to the left or the right. I measured everything.
um, well, yeah, there's another really embarrassing tip, which doesn't matter for you, but my hat increases when I colour my goatee, which has about 50% grey in it naturally.
So when you look younger,
I can't say what the reason is. All I can say is the measurements I get bigger hats when my goatee is black. I buy an $8 mascara pen once every 3 months. And apart from the current scenario right now, but in the rest of my career, it gives me an extra $100, $300, $400,000 a month. And when I go into a corporate meeting and I'm doing a quote for a big decor job and I colour my goatee, I get more yeses and I get larger jobs accepted.
hmm.
And I'm actually embarrassed for humanity about this. I don't like this particular tip. What
Well,
it tells me about, but I'm not stupid enough to not go out and buy that mascara. It's come on,
Disney
you
has
know?
a lot of rules. I'm right next to Disney. I'm right next to Orlando, Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And Mickey Mouse is my neighbor, man. So I go out there and I see things, and there are, first of all, I think it's the singing quartet are the only ones who are allowed to have facial hair or something like that. Like there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things that go on.
Well,
And even then, a lot of the performers I know that work the boardwalk dye their hair to look younger as well. And
yep.
I don't, my understanding
It
is that,
may. Yep, go for it.
I would say my understanding is that Disney has basically informed them to do this. I don't know at what point that's legal or not, but they basically implied you want to. And it's kind of an interesting thing when you think about it. And you're right, humanity, um, you'd think, you'd hope that we would respect our elders, but I don't know how it translates.
It is, but this is something I feel like I'm a little bit on my own in the world, and I'm probably not, but I just feel that way, that we need to be really careful. The numbers, and it sounds like you record stuff too, data is not interpretation. So I'm saying a single flat piece of data, I get more acceptances, bigger hats when I colour my goatee black. I want to colour it brown, but I can't find brown mascara very easily, right? So it's really important to say black.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily getting rid of the grey. And what made me consider getting rid of the grey was a number of entertainers. Patty Sorrell actually is the first one I remember recommending that people colour their goatees. But remembering that well after he passed away, unfortunately, but I had more grey on one side and less grey on the other. And to me, it made my face look lopsided. It didn't look as professional.
Symmetrical,
So
yeah.
maybe nothing to do with the fact that I look younger. It might be everything to do with the fact that I look younger. I can't do a brain scan on someone and figure out what the reason is for this. But it may simply just be, we know that symmetrical faces are trusted more.
Yeah. So,
So and it could be another thing that I don't know,
well,
but
I had things
we
like the color of my shirt made a difference. So you're right. I made the assumption of young and old, and that is not accurate because it could be
well,
anything. Yeah,
it could be accurate, just don't know,
yeah,
and everyone makes this assumption, and I'm sure I do it too, even though I think I don't. I feel that I do it less than some people do, but we all have these images of ourselves in
yeah.
our heads. Um, but if it can get you more money, if it can make your clients say yes, if it can get your installation twice as big and create more joy while supporting your family, go and do it.
Now,
You know,
yeah. So I mean, that's phenomenal. I love all the advice that you've given on all this too. I've noticed that you mentioned decor and stuff a lot too, and I recently started adding decor to my business. So
mm,
in the past couple years. So I'm curious, what do you do as far as balloon decor? How did you get started, and what kind of stuff are you looking to grow? Just tell me a little bit about that.
okay. Well, best thing to do is have a look at ecoballoons.co.nz,
Okay.
and there's a couple of decor sections on there. Um, so a few years ago, I had a number of different family problems coming up. I've been full-time / part-time entertainer with a day job for 20-ish years, maybe a bit less than 20 years. And I needed to quit my day job to look after a range of different things that my family needed. Things weren't working out. There were big problems and they weren't going to get any better. So I quit my day job. I was worried about income.
Hmm.
So we've got a very big mortgage. We live in a nice part of one of the worst houses in a nice part of Auckland. Um, and so I was like, right, I will mostly be booked up on the weekends. I need data. I need work during the day, during the week.
Yeah.
And that will be mostly corporates. Oh, yes, I like selling to corporates. Um, I've mostly been a little negative about decor for most of my life. I've read a large number of Twisters stories about the first time they did decor,
Yeah.
and they are mostly incredibly negative. And that skewed my vision of it quite a bit to the point where I was unconsciously quite biased against it and not wanting to do it because I don't want anything to go wrong when I do stuff for people.
Yeah.
And I charge a lot. Or I think I charge a lot
Yeah.
as well, and so that nothing does go wrong. Um, Went to OzJam, my very first balloon convention, 2014, 15, something like that,
Okay.
6 or 7 years ago, and attended some decor classes and absorbed it, but didn't really think that I'd absorbed it. And then did a couple of decor things for some friends who wanted me to do it for, like, they were doing it for someone else, not like for their party or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I might get myself in trouble online here. It's like, oh my God, this is so easy.
Yeah.
In comparison to twisting, in comparison to someone challenging you to make a Chinese dragon riding a Pegasus, and you've got 5 minutes or less to do it, to make an arch or make some columns or stack these things together, measure the numbers, measure out the length of the pole, look that you've got 6 quads per meter of garland. You've got to make an 11-meter garland, blah, blah. Oh, just piece of cake. Get a little whiteboard, write it up. This is what I've got to do. I've got 2 hours to do it. Am I halfway through? Oh, I'm halfway through and it's been 40 minutes. I'm ahead of time. Keep on going. Just, And really, I think what I really enjoyed was the juxtaposition between how hard and difficult I thought it was and how easy it was as long as you plan it.
I will
As long as you
say,
have a plan.
as a
And
decorator, it's very much analytical, and you have to know those numbers. And if you don't like math, it is actually much harder.
yeah,
So,
and do it. Well, I charged a huge amount for my first lots of decor, probably 3 times what the most balloon decorators in New Zealand charge,
yeah.
because I wanted to build it a week beforehand at my house.
Hmm.
and know that it worked. And I do enjoy decor now, nowhere near as much as twisting and entertaining. It's just that people interaction, that grabbing control of 100 people and making them do stuff and forcing them to enjoy themselves it's like a really positive power trip. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the decor is really good income. The profit margins are not as good, but I get to impress people who aren't interested in what they consider children's entertainment.
Yeah.
So a PA, let's use a PA for a big corporate company who doesn't have children and is a little bit doesn't really get why everybody else loves children, will see an arch or see a giant balloon decoration piece and go, wow, that's amazing, I love it. And it increases the number of people who you can impress. So you can now I can go, because I'm $350 for an average birthday party. Okay. I do maybe 3 birthday parties a year. Okay. I don't do many. I've tried to price myself out of it, and every now and then someone pays me anyway.
Had the same problem.
And I think I might be backpedaling. I think birthday parties in the next few years might actually be the way to go, and I'm a bit embarrassed about that, but who could have predicted what's happening right now? But the dad or the mum who are making a joint decision about a birthday party, one might not really get twisting, because I personally believe 1 in 20 people don't get twisting in Western society. And it might be 2 out of 20, it might be half a person out of 20, but it's roughly there. 19 people love it. 1 person doesn't get it. In the same way that if someone showed me a quarter scale replica of the Taj Mahal that they built out of toothpicks, in my brain I would be saying that's impressive, but in my heart I'd be going, why? What? Why? Why would you do that? And I really believe that 1 out of 20 people have that attitude towards balloon art. And it's not a negative thing, it's just a number.
Not everybody likes pickles.
But no, absolutely. But imagine how frustrating it would be if you don't get balloon art and 19 other people that you know rave about it.
Yeah.
Just think about, and I think this is where a large number of the anti-balloon people have come from, not the twisting side of it, but is this thing that they don't like this thing much, but everybody else loves it. And that just sounds like a recipe for a little deep kernel of hate to just kind of fester and grow in certain people. I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, but this 1 out of 20 thing, I'm reasonably confident. I've been watching for that my whole 20 years plus career. And it's about right that there's 1 person out of 20 who loves balloon art, decor or twisting or both or whatever. As in insanely loves it, and that is mostly us, right?
Yeah.
We know, and we meet people who aren't balloon artists, and we sort of can tell, in another time that person would be a balloon artist. Absolutely, you just know it. 18 people out of 20 really think balloons are cool and love it. 1 out of 20 doesn't like it, and that's about right. So whenever I'm pitching, I try to find out if this is one of those 1 out of 20s that don't like it.
And how do you go about that?
You show them some pictures. It's literally as simple as sliding your photo across. So I've got a couple of really complicated medium-sized twisted sculptures and a couple of enormous decor ones, usually my parade ones.
Yeah.
Where this one we did for it's very similar to the one we did prior, but this big rainbow one we did, I couldn't get the whole thing on the panorama mode on my phone.
That's cool. That's cool.
But so I show that to people, and when people look at it and go, wow, that's big. This is one of the very common sentences. The non-balloon people will go, that's big. And the balloon people will go, oh my God, look at that. How many were in there? How long did that take you?
Yeah.
And one goes, big. And that's when you know straight away they're not a balloon person. And that's okay. You're talking to them about decor and you're like, right, so here's some of the things we can do for your event. This will make everyone feel a lot happier. It will make your life easier in organizing it. I'll come in, set it up. I'll come afterwards. I'll take it all down. Leave it all with me. I can handle it all for you.
So if they're not decor
And most of
people,
the time,
you can still get the sale because you're selling not balloons.
I'm not selling, I'm selling, this is one part of your big event that you're organizing, which usually it's not the CEO
True.
that I'm talking to. And what that means is if something goes wrong at this event, that person is worried about them looking bad.
Or losing their job.
And yeah, absolutely. This is, and this is, this is the difference between corporate and personal sales.
Yeah.
You need to find the motivation of the person you're talking to. And occasionally you need to find the motivation of the decision maker who isn't the person you're talking to.
So
And
selling to
that's when you say,
corporate, you're kind of jumping into that. So if you want to talk about that and how it varies from just selling to a birthday party.
well, yeah, well, I try not to sell birthday parties, but basically it's like you need to find the motivations of the people you're talking to. But number one in corporate sales, whether it's widgets, whether it's hairstylists, whether it's balloon art, whether it's brain surgery, I don't know if you if you have corporate sales for brain surgery, who is the decision maker? Am I speaking to the person who's going to say yes or going to say no? And that is 90% of the whole deal, right? So someone calls me up and says, look, my boss has asked me to find out prices on balloon arches. And I'm like, crap. This is going to be hard because the boss is the one I want to be speaking to. This girl has been given a task. She doesn't want to mess it up. The boss said price, therefore she's thinking the boss is unconsciously saying, get me the best damn price you can.
Yep.
Most of the time, not always.
Yeah.
And this is where I send them some links. Here's the website. There's a $60 booking fee. If you want to book it, go through it. If you've got any other questions, let me know. If the person who's asking about the balloon art wants to talk to me directly, that might make things easier for you.
So you immediately try to push to the boss man.
Yes, but I try to label it as in making this person's job easier.
That's true. Okay.
Not I want to talk to your boss. Put your boss on the phone right now. That has never worked in a million years for any salesperson to order a gatekeeper to open the gate.
That's right.
And most of the time, I don't get to talk to the boss in that situation because the boss feels that they've handed it to this person, which doesn't have to be a girl and it doesn't have to be a male boss. I'll just throw that out there quite easily. He's offloaded it. The CEO of the company is a female, very well educated lady. She's offloaded it to her assistant,
Yeah.
and she doesn't want to bother with it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I have my assistant that I send off to do things like this too, so I definitely get it. But you're at least giving
Yeah.
them the option to let you talk to the boss. And I will tell you that if my assistant was put on a task, she would come back and
Mm.
say, this person sounds professional. They kind of answered my questions, but they wanted to talk to you. Do you want to talk to them? And I would at least have the option to do it. Whereas if you didn't say that, I would never even, I'd just say handle it. So,
Absolutely. And the other thing is, and this is not easy for everyone because a lot of people have a day job like I used to have,
yeah.
go in and meet with them. At every possible opportunity, take 3 hours out of your day, go into town, pay for parking, take a photo of it, mark it off as a business expense, go in and talk to them and say, hi, I'm Charles, I'm the balloon artist. What do we want to get out of this event? I know you want an arch. what do you want the arch to do? Do you want it to brighten up a dull area? Do you want it to make people go, wow? Do you want it to impress your boss? You can literally put that question in, don't say it on its own, but fit it in with 2 or 3 other questions to get a feel for what's going on in the relationship here.
Yeah. Now, random offshoot question. What do you wear when you go to that meeting?
Right, I wear black pants, shiny shoes. So black pants, shiny shoes, and most of the time now, the sort of mauvey purple OzJam ambassador polo shirt.
Okay. So you wear a balloon-related industry, professional-ish looking, but you're not wearing your bright, shiny, colorful, scare you with the glitter. Okay.
In fact, when I go for interviews for corporates where they want me as an entertainer, like malls and food courts and things like that, I also go in my corporate attire.
Okay. And by corporate attire, are you going in with that vest? Is that what you mean by corporate attire?
No.
Like your costume?
My corporate attire is OzJam polo shirt, clean, dry cleaned OzJam polo shirt, black pants, black shoes, and usually this hat.
Okay. So essentially solid black. Okay.
I would prefer not to wear a hat, but I don't think my head looks particularly great for corporate interviews.
Okay.
I really don't think it looks fantastic.
Now, I'm getting on a tangent here because I'm actually curious. Oh, and then I'll ask these questions because unfortunately I feel they need to be asked. When you go to these meetings, do you shower and bathe and brush your teeth and smell good when you show up?
No, because I've already done that before I left the house.
Okay, good. So,
and if I'm catching the bus into town like I often do, if it's a hot day, I will bring a little deodorant can with me.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
yeah, and sometimes I'll bring a change of socks.
Okay, that's a good idea too. Now, when you're going to these
yeah.
meetings, you're dressing professionally, you're smelling good, you're not smelling bad at the very least. You're looking professional. I'm assuming clean cut, well shaven, or at least shaved up to your goatee. And
this is the goatee. This is the goatee coloured as well.
Okay, yeah.
This is basically with a collar. This look with a collar, and it could be better, but it needs to be comfortable, because if I'm uncomfortable, then the meeting doesn't go as well.
Okay, so I get that too. So, what would you suggest to someone going to a meeting as far as what never ever to do? Because I think there's too many of those examples that I can give that I've seen, and I'm curious.
Only go to meetings if you like meetings, if you're good at meetings, right? I'm explaining how I do things, and the way I do things does not work for everybody, but I have a filter which makes me think that it works for everybody.
Okay.
Because that's life. What not to do? Smelly socks, smelly shoes. Put half a teaspoon of baking soda in your shoes for 3 days in a row every morning, whichever shoe you're going to wear. Get rid of your foot odor. Even if you're a 21-year-old who's only got one pair of socks, this works. So odor has got to be the biggest one, to be honest. Any form of unpleasant odor, which includes over's not the right word, which includes excessive perfumes or excessive cologne, right?
Yes.
So odor is the worst. Make sure your teeth look clean. You can have brushed your teeth, but they may not look clean. In fact, actually invest every 2 or 3 months going to a dentist to give your teeth whitening and get them cleaned and stuff, if you're going to do lots of interviews.
Yeah.
I guess this stuff is just kind of unconscious more than anything.
Yeah, when you've been doing it for so long, it's amazing, isn't it? Trying to break it down.
It is. It does actually challenge me. I can feel my brain rewiring itself a little bit, going, "Oh, I have to think about this now. I have to." Turning up too early is almost as bad as turning up too late.
And that was an issue I have.
and the smaller the company is, the less early you want to be.
Okay.
So if there's 6 people in the whole business, they will have a tiny little waiting room, or they will have nowhere to wait at all. You turn up 10 minutes early for your appointment, you're uncomfortably there while your appointment is finishing off their phone meeting or something else is going on, and there's not really an easy place to sit.
It's a really good point. I didn't think about that.
It is in Tau in New Zealand. I was there 15 minutes early. 3,000 people in a giant tower in central Auckland, 2 receptionists, 6 couches. I went there and I waited for a while, but I also built some little mini decor out of 5-inch rounds while I was there.
Okay. That's great.
To physically show them what I might be able to do.
Awesome.
Now, I believe I have my auntie just arrived.
Great. Well, we're right at an hour, so do you need to greet her?
We should
get off.
At some point.
I'm ready to wrap up. I was actually going to ask you if you had anything else you wanted to share with the channel before we go, but we can.
I have 1,000 things to share and probably 50 things that are interesting.
Awesome.
To do it again.
Awesome. So we will try to do that as well. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you meet up with your auntie, and we will talk to you later. Thank you so much, Charles, for jumping on here with us, and hopefully I get to talk to you again soon.
That was great. Thanks, Jonathan. Bye.